Welcome to the Forked River Beach Preservation presentation, which addresses erosion concerns at the Bayfront Park. In the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy, these concerns are accelerated. However, even before Sandy, there was a need to understand and address this. We believe that this presentation demonstrates that cost-effective solutions are out there, and we hope you find it of value. But first, a little bit of history. We have a short video from Forked River Beach in 1970 coming up. Many people don't know this, but Forked River Beach was initially established in 1954 as a private beach club. Members enjoyed a clubhouse, that is now the Elks Lodge, a sandy beach, a roped-off swimming area, certified lifeguards, and best of all, an in-ground pool. As you can see, we also had a lot more beach. The developer ultimately filed for bankruptcy and the beach and the beach club were for sale. After several options were tried, the township stepped in and purchased the beach in 1990 with two bonds totaling $2.65 million, the largest capital purchase in the history of Lacey Township. But the question remains, how well have we protected our investment over the past 20 years? Here is the beach in 1970, cut from our previous video. Here is the beach this year, taken from the same spot, but before Sandy. There is no beach or sand beyond the vegetated area. Here is the beach, once again taken from the same location as our previous two, after Sandy came ashore. Notice the difference, 1970, pre-Sandy, post-Sandy. A dramatic difference. But what happened? What happened was erosion. At the time of the purchase, the township was well aware that the beach was eroding. Steps were taken. In 1995, a riprap stone wall was buried 1,800 linear feet along the shoreline, but above the mean high water line. Sand was placed over the riprap, which made it possible to walk right out into the bay, and you didn't even know that rock was underneath you. The cost was $150,000 plus $90,000 authorized engineering fee. In 2012 dollars, that would have been $226,750.98. Sadly, the erosion continued. This aerial photography matches up the same point of the beach in 1993 and 2003. As we said, the riprap was placed above the mean high water line, about 50 to 60 feet back from the foot of the beach. And by 2003, most of the unprotected beach in front of the riprap had washed away. You can see the outline of the pool in 1993, and now all that remains is out in the bay. Here's a Google map from 1995. The amount of erosion seen in our previous aerial photography is consistent with the erosion progressed in these Google Earth maps. As you can see, shown by the red line, in 1995 there was an estimated 118 feet of beach in front of the southernmost home on the public beach. Now 2006. At this point, approximately 71 feet of beach remained. In other words, 47 feet of beach was lost in 11 years. Note the red line is the same size as the previous map, which illustrates how much of the beach has been reclaimed by the bay. 2010. As of 2 years ago, approximately 60 feet of beach remained in front of that same location, with a total of 58 feet of beach lost. Nearly 50% had become part of the bay in 15 years. This, this map highlights another issue. By 1998, the sand that initially covered the riprap washed away, leaving the riprap totally exposed, and the beach was closed for swimming. After much community protest, a swim at your own risk policy was developed. Yet the rock presented a valid concern. The issue was that the method used to attempt to stabilize the shoreline was not in sync with the intended use of the beach. More on that later in the presentation. The aerial photography and Google Earth maps are further confirmed by statistics developed by one of our neighbors, a PhD in chemical engineering. He developed this formula based on the depth of the lots. Dr. Farrell of the Stockton Coastal Research Center, an expert in the field, reviewed these statistics and found them credible. As the image shows, approximately 2.5 to 3.5 feet of beach were lost per year over a 17-year period. What are the impacts? Exposed riprap presents hazardous water access and increases township liability. A loss of tax revenue. Property values are threatened. Bear in mind that erosion increases the chance of storm damage not only to homes but also to the infrastructure. As we saw during the past storm, we had two gas main leaks right on Beach Boulevard directly behind the beach. Because of these and other concerns, people on the beach have come up with their own homemade solutions like putting steps over the riprap, and as you can see, the homemade solutions are not the answer. The township must step up to the plate and develop an effective plan. To further illustrate how erosion increases the threat of storm damage, long before Sandy, the March 2010 storm was one of the worst we'd experienced in recent years. These photos show 6 to 8 foot swells in front of the houses, as well as areas where the riprap was already breaching and flooding the beach. You can see how close the water is in this picture. Sandy's impact was even more dramatic. The riprap was lifted by a bay that had become virtually an open ocean and became flying missiles in the storm, landing on the beach, in our yards, and even in a neighbor's pool. What can be done? Keeping people off the rock and preventing water access is not the answer. The rock is hazardous, but more appropriate solutions are available, as we have found. In 2006, we began meeting with environmental groups, the DEP, and experts in the field to find potential solutions to our erosion. Of particular note, we met with Dave Rosenblatt of the DEP Coastal Engineering Division, whose team awards state funding for beach stabilization, as well as Dr. Stuart Farrell, the director of the Stockton Coastal Research Center and a highly regarded name in his field, and more recently, the Smith Midland Corporation from Maryland. We learned a lot from all these people, but here are two of the most important points. According to the Army Corps of Engineers, who we also spoke with, riprap must be strong enough to resist the battering action of waves. Our beach is located at Barnegat Bay's widest point. Accordingly, every expert that has visited the beach has stated unequivocally that even prior to Sandy, the rock was too small for the wave energy that affects our shoreline. This issue is best exemplified in these pictures, which show a dramatic difference around the gazebo that was at the north end of the beach. In 2003, there was enough room to drive a truck around the gazebo, and as you can see, the rock has now washed away and the gazebo was practically in the water. Now it's part of the bay. To further highlight the power of wind energy, here are two shots of where the riprap was installed on the beach. They have now been completely ripped out and removed by Sandy. Even the plastic underlining is gone, leaving large gouges in the remaining shoreline. Everyone loves a sandy beach, but sand alone will not protect your shoreline. Sand with plantings on the beach and sand with containing structures in front of the beach can effectively mitigate erosion, but sand by itself is not enough. Unprotected sand will only wash away rapidly, causing further problems in the river and lagoons, as shown in these pictures, and potentially increase dredging issues. Since last year, we visited a number of beaches and bayfront areas to see what other towns are doing to stabilize their shorelines. What we've learned is there are options. We met with Mayor Buck Evans as well as members of the Council and Waterways Commission. We learned that this peninsula, which had eroded from 300 feet to 8 feet, threatened not only the homes behind it, but the road and infrastructure and the entire community in that area. The council tried riprap and it failed. They have now obtained state funding and at the state's recommendation will be utilizing jetty rock with limited fill behind it. The projected cost is $320,400. Dr. Farrell suggested that we visit two beaches in Berkeley Township, which provide a combination of methods he would recommend to stabilize the Bayfront Beach. First is the Allen Road Beach. It is now vegetated via the free county beachgrass program and maintained as a dune with walking paths in front of the Berkeley Shores development. Volunteers from the Berkeley Shores community help to maintain the dunes and vegetation. Secondly is the Amherst Road Beach. This beach is maintained with sandy fill in front of the beach, a vertical structure to retain sand, and a groin across the river to help prevent sediment buildup. In this picture, that's the Allen Road Beach across the river opening. We learned from former Mayor Jason Verano that DEP funding was used for this project, which was completed only 4 years ago at a total cost of between $180,000 and $200,000. Instead of purchasing fill, Mayor Verano utilized sand from a dredging project, which helped keep the cost down. The DEP suggested we visit this site, which is a private residence. Gabion is small rock contained within mesh caging, and in this case, a boardwalk was installed on top with ladders to provide water access. In a solution like this, we would still need to vegetate the beach behind it. The cost is approximately $195 per linear foot, which, based on 1,800 feet, totals $351,000. Each beach must have a sounding to determine the specific cost. Ocean Gate is an example of multiple techniques as seen in these pictures. They're using groins, vertical structures, and vegetated beaches to maintain their shoreline. Mayor Kennedy is also planning on using technology new to the Northeast called beach prisms, an example of which can be seen in the lower right-hand picture. These slides are provided courtesy of the Smith Midland Corporation. The beach prisms do two things. First, they dissipate the wave energy and stop the erosion. Secondly, they naturally accrete sand on both the front and back of the prism. This time sequence photography shows the accretion of sand at a site on the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland. From top to bottom and left to right, the pictures are dated 320, 2010, 412, 2010, 58, 2010, and 63, 2010. You can see how much sand was reclaimed by these structures. Folks from Smith Midland Corporation made a site visit here in October. They produced this slide which shows how they would configure the beach prisms at the Bayfront Beach. Openings could be left wide enough for water access, and in two areas of the beach could be left wide enough for kayaks, canoes, and windsurfers. The cost is approximately $318,000. We learned recently that beach prisms can be configured to construct small dunes on the beach. As shown, there are solutions. To recap, here's what we learned. Although there are many ways to stabilize a shoreline, it's part of a natural system and must be handled that way. Every beach is different, and there are no one-size-fits-all solutions. The solutions need to be based on the environmental factors, like wave action, along with the intended use of the beach by the public. And as you can see from these 2009 photos, people still use this beach. We have seen a variety of techniques that can be utilized to address the challenge, possibly in combination. Once the shoreline is stabilized, there are many exciting possibilities as to improving the recreational value of the beach. A picnic area, a small boardwalk, and a kayak canoe windsurfing area. Lacey Recreation Director Jim Weiland has indicated he would like to run some classes off the beach. A plan can be developed that would be respectful of the local community's privacy, yet which will provide a much greater benefit to the taxpayers who helped pay for this property in the beginning. Of course, how are we going to pay for this is the big question, and there are resources as shown in this slide. As stated in this slide, we and others like us would like to function as a task force reporting to the township administrator that would ensure proper evaluations are done before any more funds are expended. Communications are regular and in two directions with both the local community and all Lacey residents. Intensive efforts are made to pursue funding sources, both public and private. The construction of goals and objectives, both short and long term. We have met many people who are interested in assisting with this challenge. Here is a summary of the experts who have offered to meet with the township to explain state funding or provide proposals as to their solutions. All have offered to meet with the township free of charge. As the saying goes, when the moment of truth arrives, the time for preparation has passed. On October 29th, our moment of truth arrived and we were not prepared. Some people believe that there wasn't anything you could do to prevent the damage from Sandy, but Dr. Farrell's team, who has been retained by FEMA to study Sandy's effect on the shore, just released their initial report. In a nutshell, the areas that were mitigated fared much better in the storm than the areas that were not. This process must begin now because the more time that passes, the more difficult and costly the solutions become. We are not here to present problems. We are here to be a collaborative agent that helps create solutions. We hope you agree and thank you for your time and attention. As a follow-up, as of the time of the recording of this video in November of 2015, nothing yet has been done on the beachfront at the Bayfront Park.